morning and welcome to another edition of Flipside Live, coming to you on this Friday morning, bright and early, February the 7th, a little after 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Robbie Noel broadcasting live from what is going to be a drop-dead gorgeous day in Rosarito Beach, Mexico. Well, the much anticipated Friday's jobs report came out and beat expectations. However, the unemployment rate went from 6.6 to 6.7. And if you rely on official government figures of the real unemployment rate in the U.S., John Williams from Shadow Stats is probably the most accurate in how he analyzes the true unemployment rate in the United States, which stands at around 12%. Dow, obviously liking the news, up marginally by 16 points at 16,438. We have, as expected, a sell-off in the metals. Gold down $16 at $13.35. Predicated solely on the strength of the dollar based on the jobs report versus anything else. Crude oil, by the way, higher at 108. And it's inevitable that the events unfolding in the Ukraine are going to affect pretty much everybody. And I say that by just simply stating the obvious. Keep your eye on the price at the pump. Last night in the local San Diego channel, one of the guys who predicts gas pump prices said folks shouldn't be too surprised to see $4 a gallon gas in the not too distant future. Although the media would like to distract your attention by finding news stories that pretty much divert your attention away from the real issue. There's an old saying in Africa, it's called gorilla dust. It's nothing more than a distraction, because the real problem that is going on between Russia and the U.S. Can be best explained by an article I have posted on my website, where John Williams feels that with further threats by the U.S. on sanctions against Russia, Russia could quite easily, and it's already made this announcement that it's not out of the question it could start selling off its US dollar holdings. And according to John Williams, it could quite easily collapse the world's financial system. John Williams says if you look outside of the U.S., there's probably about $16 trillion in cash. That's about the same size as our GDP. Not many people have wanted to hold the US dollar for some time now. The dollar fundamentally is weak. It couldn't be weaker. There are a lot of major factors against it. It's just a matter of what would trigger a massive selling of US dollars that nobody seems to want to hold. The Russians start selling, and you have China indicating a general alliance here in terms of what's transpiring. If the rest of the world believes this is what's going to happen, people who have been wanting to get out of the dollar for some time very easily could front run the Russians. The scare is on. People will be trying to get out of the dollar as fast as possible. Jim Willie has a lot of followers, also has a lot of distractors from time to time. I followed Jim Willie for many years, and although he has blown a few calls, his average for being accurate is better than the odds you are going to find in Las Vegas. And he feels that the situation in the Ukraine could quite easily be the Waterloo for the dollar. Greg Hunter has his feelings on the situation in Ukraine, and I'll post it up on my website at robbyknoll.com. However, there's also another unfortunate story posted up on my webpage today, and I'd like to spend a little time on it. The gold and silver business is a very small industry in the big scheme of things. If you've been involved in the gold and silver business for any length of time, you pretty much know who all the major players are. which companies have been sanctioned by the U.S. Mint as a designated dealer of U.S. Mint products. You also get to know the players in the proverbial bucket shops that obviously pay their brokers very well and therefore attract the best in the business, because the gold and silver business is run on commission, not dissimilar to stocks, bonds, or any other asset class that is sold by a broker. They do it because of the commission. One of the largest West Coast dealers has now officially gone out of business, and it's a company I've been familiar with for many years, Tulving and Company. I first came to know Hannes Tulving back in the mid-80s when he ran another company that did not deal in physical gold and silver, but rather dealt in that wonderful thing called leverage. To sell gold and silver, one does not need to be a licensed commodity broker. So pretty much anybody could become a gold broker. A lot of companies in the 80s opened these gold leverage firms and pretty much used the money that they raised from a gullible public to enjoy lavish lifestyles rather than do what they say they were going to do. And Hans got tied up in that whole debacle. Ran into a little legal problem, but eventually gave up on the leverage business and went into the physical business. For many years, Tulving has been successful by the mere fact that his price over spot on a lot of very popular gold and silver products was very attractive to Joe Sixpack out there, who obviously spent time searching various websites to see what they were offering a 1-ounce American Eagle for, and undoubtedly, if they came across the Tulving site, if you purchased 10 or more 1-ounce American Gold Eagles, he gave you a price that was very hard for any other dealer to compete with. In many instances, in order for me to compete with Tulving's price on 10-ounce American Gold Eagles my net profit per coin would be around about $5. It seems to me as the Tolving has, over the past few years, in order to increase the profit margin on gold and silver eagles, has been playing the market. In other words, taking orders for physical shipment of gold and silver, but not hedging the position, and hoping that the market will head in the other direction. Well, as with all realities in life, schemes like that can work for a certain period of time, but ultimately they fail. And so there's a lesson to be learned. And it's the age-old lesson. If something sounds too good to be true, there's a high degree of probability it probably is. If you are a buyer of gold and silver and you see what seems to be bargain prices, there's most probably a very good reason why. And so if you want to deal with the real world and deal with two guys, Jeffrey Bennett and myself, who have physically put millions of dollars worth of gold and silver into people's hands on a consistent basis for the past few decades. We have a spotless record. Yes, this is a plug for Flying Eagle Gold and Silver, but that's what I do for a living from here in Rosarita Beach. So if you are ever thinking of buying gold and or silver, or know somebody who is thinking about buying gold and silver, it would definitely pay you to give either Jeffrey Bennett or myself a call at 855-289-7587, or if you prefer to do it via email, you can find links to both our email addresses just under the Flying Eagle logo on my webpage at robbyknoll.com. And as a programming reminder, this being Friday, coming up at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, I get to spend an hour with Charles Carlson from Stradgate Ministries. And there's most probably going to be a lot of ground that we are going to cover. And so I invite you to join us at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time over on The Micro Effect. Well, my friends, this wraps up this short edition, breaking news on the Flipside, and we will do it again pretty soon, and I'm starting to learn how things work.